If you're like me, you've probably wondered why banks in Japanese are called Silver Go. Isn't it a place that money or gold goes? Well, in this video, I'm going to explain why it is. Kind of, because we're not 100% sure, but we're sure on some parts of it. So yes, the Japanese word for bank is written with the kanji for silver and go, whereas gold and go doesn't really mean anything, although I guess there is a ramen chain that has that name. Turns out that the word ginko is fairly new in the whole scheme of things in Japanese. I mean, as in just over 150 years old. And we know that because we basically know who came up with it and where. Indeed, the Bank of Japan, for of all places, hosts this history on their website, noting that the term was invented in 1872. At this time, it was chosen as a translation for the English word bank by a committee who were working on Japan's first National Banking Act, which is, pretty important. It even has its own Wikipedia page. Now, in these deliberations, the choice of the iku kanji to go seems to have been quite easy. And it's not because money goes to a bank, which is what I thought it was when I first learned this kanji, and used as a kind of mnemonic to remember the pair, but instead because this kanji can actually mean business. Now, this is more common in Chinese. Indeed, there are a number of common Chinese words that use this, but it does still appear in some Japanese words. Many are a little bit obscure, but if you look into the dictionary, deep into the dictionary, you can find places where this kanji still has the meaning of kind of commerce, business, etc. in Japanese. And if you look at kanji dictionaries, they list that meaning still as a Japanese meaning of the character. There was, however, a bit of debate on what to put in front of the go/business character. And yes, of course, kin, kane, was one of the ones that was debated. Now, there are three explanations for why they went with this. And the one that is most common and seems to be the most likely, the one that's endorsed by the Bank of Japan, for instance, is that it just sounded better. Yeah, that's it. And I mean, why not? To be fair, if we did use the kanji for gold or money, it would be kinko, which is homophonous with the word for gold mine, which is confusing, and semi-homophonous with kinko, shorter vowel there, which is actually arguably even more confusing. The website MyNavi also backs this up, although they note that there might have been some influence from Chinese. Now, this is certainly possible, as the Chinese word for bank, as in contemporary bank, both Japan and China had bank-like things back then, but they were referred to by different names and operated under slightly different systems. Because depending on the source, Chinese started using this same kanji pair to refer to banks by either 1840s, 1850s, or 1860s. And it doesn't really matter which for this discussion because all of these are before the committee met that I mentioned in the 1870s. The argument there is that the Chinese chose silver because at the time silver was more used for currency. Given that China was using this same representation to mean bank before Japanese was, it is of course possible that it influenced the Japanese choices, although I can't really find any evidence of that. Indeed, there are even people out there stating that China borrowed it from Japan, which to me seems unlikely given the times that we're looking at here, and again is not cited, especially because this person is giving a date for the invention of the word which doesn't match the Bank of Japan's date, so I'll go with the Bank of Japan as the source. But I guess the point is that there's some confusion. Indeed, the third possibility is just that both of these happened together. That is, the Japanese people in the committee liked the sound of ginko better, and also they noted that it was being used in Chinese, so why not use the same thing? In my personal opinion, it seems like this one or these sound-only ones are the more likely ones. But there are even edge cases where people say that it has nothing to do with any of these, and is because Japan, like China, was using silver currency more at the time. This is the least supported, but it kind of is out there. Anyway, what this all means, of course, at the end of the day is, like a lot of these etymology videos, I end with, we're not 100% sure. But at least now you know that it's not because it's a place where silver goes, but it is a silver industry, a silver business. Kind of. It's actually gold, but silver industry sounds better in Japanese. That said though, despite knowing that my initial impressions were wrong, I'm still going to go with in my head that banks are a place where silver goes because that helps me remember it better, and that's more important to me than the truth.